Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is going to be about how strumming pattern affects genre, and this is actually available as a workshop as well. So if you're interested in me teaching this to your ukulele club or at a festival, please get in touch. Genre is often defined most by how the rhythm of the instruments is arranged. And it's how we can best imply a genre when we're just on a ukulele. If we've got a full band or a full orchestra, it's quite obvious what the genre is. But if you're trying to do lots of different genres on one instrument, then you've got to be able to imply those different genres using a really limited amount of techniques. You've got one instrument to represent all the genres that are out there, and one instrument on its own can be quite limited compared to all the others. So we need to work out a way of implying different genres. If you're playing reggae or ska tunes, you're going to be using a different technique to rock tunes. If you're playing classical music, you'll be using different techniques to folk music. And I'm talking all about the right hand. You see, rhythm is often divided into groups of 4 within our Western music. You may hear at the beginning of a piece, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they go into it. This is something that's been around ever since about the 1600s, dividing things into 4, although sometimes we'll divide them into 2 or 3, something like that. We have an underlying pulse. You have 4 beats that cycle round and round, with the first one being the strongest. 1, 2, 3, 4. And sometimes the third is also fairly strong, but not as strong as the first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That kind of thing. Now, in a lot of classical music, that rhythm is fairly stuck to. So you'd have chords on a beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. La 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 la. Everything's on the beat, and it's called straight, very even. But what we tend to do on the ukulele is play pop songs, rock songs, cover songs, that kind of thing. Actual songs, not orchestral pieces. And a lot of 20th century music, like rock, pop, etc., uses something called syncopation, which makes the strumming pattern more complicated. What syncopation is we take that 1, 2, 3, 4, those accents, those stronger beats on 1 and 3, and we put the strong beats instead on 2 and 4, where we would not normally expect them. Or, to take it even further, in between the beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, sort of mixing up a bit like that. And a lot of syncopation comes originally from African music. I'm going to boil down hundreds of years of history into about 30 seconds, but essentially when Africans were taken from West Africa to Europe and America, they brought their musical traditions with them. Now, African music is very polyphonic, which means you have lots of different rhythms happening at the same time. Instead of having everything happen on the beat, you'd have one percussionist going, while another person's going, and someone else going, or something like that. That's just an example. But if you imagine all of those things happening at once, it creates a real deep rhythmic texture, and that's called polyrhythmic, lots of rhythm. Now those polyrhythmic textures dominated West African music, and when they brought it over, they brought that polyrhythmic element into jazz, which later became rock and roll, and then rock, then funk, and all that kind of stuff. And so Western music came from being very straight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to being very polyrhythmic and having syncopation, where you have all these different rhythms going on at the same time, which creates a real energy which encourages you to dance. In fact, lots of West African cultures don't even have a separate word for music and dance. It's all the same thing, just a performance, music that makes you dance. So that syncopation is really key to a lot of the music that I see people tend to cover on the uke. Anything from the Beatles to Black Sabbath, any of that kind of stuff, literally anything from the 20th century, you'll find loads of syncopation. So we need to work out some syncopated strumming patterns on the uke. Now a really simple one to demonstrate is the ska rhythm or the reggae rhythm, which is where we play on beats 2 and 4 exclusively. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. One love, one heart, let's get together and we'll feel alright. That kind of thing. Except just strumming on beats 2 and 4 isn't enough to create a syncopated rhythm. Because syncopation doesn't just mean a complicated rhythm like... I mean, I'm clapping, but am I clapping on beats 1 and 3 or 2 and 4? 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What am I doing? Just on its own, you have no idea. And it's the same with a strum on the uke. Am I strumming on beats 1 and 3 or 2 and 4? That's not syncopation, therefore. With syncopation you have to imply the steady 1, 2, 3, 4 underneath, and then have rhythms that go against that on top. So with the reggae you'd often have a drummer who maybe hits the bass pedal on 1 and 3, but then the guitarist strums on 2 and 4, so you have polyrhythm as your texture. Now on uke, obviously, if you don't have any percussion, you've got to be able to imply the regular beat as well as the syncopated beat. And so with a reggae strum, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you might occasionally throw in the odd strum on beat 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That kind of thing. Syncopation is a steady beat being contradicted by a beat that goes against it on top. Another form of syncopation is the jazz swing rhythm. This is where we subdivide the 1, 2, 3, 4 and turn it into 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So basically each beat has two sort of semi-beats underneath it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, which we would strum down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But we delay the and by a little bit so it's closer to the next number. So instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The swing rhythm sort of defines jazz, and when you're strumming along, if you play the swing rhythm you're definitely playing jazz. You're not playing pop or whatever, unless you've got a swung pop song. But swing doesn't define pop, whereas swing does define jazz. And you can put little triplets in as well, or little extra syncopations like that. Those sorts of rhythms really do define jazz, and so if you want to play a jazz piece, swing the rhythm. If you're playing flamenco, for example, you might use rakes with the fingers. It's where you strum like that. You use all the fingers, so it's still one movement with the wrist, but each of the fingers get to play the chord. Are you starting to see how each of those strumming patterns affects the genre? So I'll play the same chords now. We're going to play G, and then D7, C, G. And I'm going to do all sorts of different strumming patterns. And I'll call out the genre, and you'll see that just by changing the strumming pattern, I'm changing the genre, which should hopefully show you the importance of strumming patterns. Flamenco. Reggae. Rock. Jazz. classical. Now it's worth saying that that's just a brief overview. There are lots more strumming patterns, and within each genre you have fast and slow versions. So this isn't a tutorial as such as to how to play every genre by strumming, but it is a sort of way of showing you that the strumming pattern really is important, or the style of strumming that you're doing, to signify the genre, to either make your piece as close to the original as possible or to put it in a completely different style. If you've got a jazz piece that you want to make reggae, change the strumming pattern. It's that simple. I hope that's helped. Please let me know what you thought of the video and subscribe for more videos like this in the near future. Thank you.